A former preacher from Gatlinburg has been sentenced to more than 5 years in prison after admitting that he operated a fraudulent investment scheme.
The fraud by Roger Williams cost investors millions of dollars. It's a case WATE 6 on Your Side investigator Don Dare first broke 4 years ago. Now he's following up with today's sentencing.
He was once a preacher. Soon he'll be a federal prisoner for the next 5 years. Roger Williams walked into federal court today after pleading guilty in May to mail fraud and obstructing federal tax laws.
We have no comments, Mr. Dare.
Investigators say Williams operated a sophisticated Ponzi scheme, netting him $2 million for nearly 15 years.
At our life savings he's took.
The late Jimmy Vineyard told us in July 2014 he had contributed over $400,000 into Dash Holdings, an open door investment operated by Williams. But when Jimmy's wife, Ellen, became ill and he asked Williams for money to care for her, Williams told him there wasn't any left to withdraw.
It's our money. My husband worked for that, and it was his retirement.
Judy and Gerald Perkins had invested close to $150,000 with Williams. For several years, they received monthly checks drawn on their investment that paid their mortgage. But in July 2014, Williams wrote the couple saying he's going out of business, that they will no longer get any checks. But Williams never declared bankruptcy.
All the investment that we had in building up the business and everything is pretty much gone away.
We interviewed Williams just days after we had talked to the Perkins in 2014. In our investigation, we found reports mailed by Williams to clients like David and Lillian Robertson, who had invested about $150,000. Williams wrote that there would be a moratorium on dividends. Their money was being invested in another business. Federal investigators say that was a lie. In his plea agreement, the government says to continue his fraud, Williams sent funds from victims to other victims in order to make it appear they were earning returns on their investments. In other words, Williams operated a Ponzi scheme. Instead of investing victims' funds, Williams used the money for personal living expenses, vehicle payments, and vacations after transferring it to his own bank accounts. Investigators found Williams filed false IRS forms, filed false IRS income interest earnings that his clients were supposedly making. Jimmy Vineyard never got any of his money. He died 2 years ago. Gerald and Judy Perkins eventually lost their home in Seymour. They moved out of the area in 2015. Our investigation found that under federal regulations, Williams should have been a registered broker, but records show he never followed the rules. More than 50 trusting people had invested their money with Williams. After all, he was a pastor, which he often reminded them. However, he even cheated members of his own church, diverting fake bonds for his personal benefit. You were the treasurer. You were the president. Do you have some credentials that shows that you have the knowledge to invest this money?
Not anything, officially or whatever.
In court today, Williams said he was deeply sorry for what had occurred, that he was ready to face his judgment. Federal Judge Pamela Reeves told Williams, "There is no excuse for what you have done." She sentenced him to 63 months in prison and ordered him to pay over $1.3 million in restitution to his victims. Mary and Ted Campbell lost their entire life savings to Williams. $1.3 million in restitution. Do you think you'll see that money?
Never. We'll never live long enough to see it.
Tonight, Williams is out on bond. He'll begin serving his 63 months in a few weeks at a federal prison in Kentucky. It's likely he'll serve most of his time because under federal guidelines, there's no getting out of prison early for good behavior. In Knoxville, Don Dare, WATE 6 on Your Side.